Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, how are you? I was just bragging on your glasses. We care more about what we have on and what we're wearing.
I know, and today I'm
anything.
not very visually attractive today, but I have been like on call. I ended up not having to do any Zooms. I was on calls all day long today. So it was just one of those days. What we were just saying, we both kind of had a little getaway. Yours was longer and more extravagant. How was Cabo? Great.
Cabo was fabulous. We went to a place called the One and Only. It was fantastic. It's like so expensive. You just want to, when it grosses you out, that's kind of expensive. However, the service is like none you've ever seen. They put their hand on their heart when they pass you. They go out of their way. You get a butler. So the butler, like one day I'm like, I forgot a curling iron. Can you get me a curling iron? So he brings me a curling iron and brings me a round brush. We wanted dinner in our room. He got it all set up for Nikki and Gary to come over and have dinner with us and martinis before. It's like, it's just first class, but you do kind of go, okay, by the end of the week, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
Enough.
Was the weather good though?
The weather was fabulous. Like Nikki said, the food was a little bougie for us. So after 7 days, you're like, okay, I want some like hamburger and French fries.
Yeah.
Or just a plain steak with nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say, Adam always makes fun of me, but I'm like, when we go to nice places like that, I'm like, I need like just the basic menu. Like where?
Can we just eat off the kids menu?
Yeah, off the kids menu. I know. That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, so today you and I, we've actually been requested quite a few times from people wanting to know how to fire people.
Yes, it has come up more times lately than not. I think we had like 3 or 4 messages in 1 week on how to fire people. And a lot of it too, Linda, is when they're still in your world, or like if you're in a small town, was one of the messages that we got. And so, not like you're going to let them go and you're never going to see them or talk to them or hear from them again. And that really is a different kind of thing.
Well, first of all, I think we needed to give like this really long disclaimer that this is not the human resource protocol answer that you're probably supposed to get. You can just Google that because I don't know where protocol goes out the window when you got to fire somebody.
I was going to say, and we definitely don't have like a HR degree or anything, so
or an HR department or anything else. Well, and that's a really good thing. And, one of the things that Jim has always said, and how we always talk about when somebody's unique ability is kind of natural to them, they don't even see it. And he always says to me, he says, you have the greatest ability to part ways with people and create raving fans. Now, not everybody's been a raving fan. I'm going to give a disclaimer there. However, majority really are. And I thought about that and I thought, really, I don't even see that because I don't know. I can't imagine it being any other way. Right.
Yeah.
I can't imagine making a bunch of enemies. So I kind of thought through what causes that to happen. And I think sometimes it's all about, your commitment to once you make the hire. So number one, did you follow a good long process that gave you plenty of time with the person? Yep. And even you and I have said, going through the process, we still miss things and wind up going, how did I miss this? Yeah. However, I think the process really helps. And then my philosophy after that is once I've hired them, if it's not working out, the first place I look is myself. Yeah. Because, and I was thinking through this and I thought, what really helps? One thing that helps is and people don't want to do this when they're thinking about firing somebody but to talk it through with someone else.
Oh yeah.
Because to find out if it's you or not, when you listen to yourself complain about somebody, is all what you hear is emotion, or do you hear some actually facts and truth? So if I had a good buddy, I would probably say, let me talk this out with you and you tell me what you hear from me. Right. And I don't want somebody who's just going to say, oh yeah, they sound horrible. Oh yeah, you got to let them go. I want somebody who's really going to be honest with me and say, Linda, it sounds like you are either like micromanaging them or you've already decided, or maybe you just don't like them. I don't know. You know what I mean? So, so I think that to me, that would help, because I do think we get so stuck in the situation sometimes that we are now just picking at things. Right. And so I always say the first place look at yourself. Did I train them well? And then, are you in the first 90 days or are you not in the first 90 days? Because I think it changes. If you're in the first 90 days, that's completely different. Because I've probably said to them 100 times, now remember, we're on a 90-day trial, because this might not work out for either one of us. I say it over and over and over again, because I want them to know that.
Okay, wait, let's pause for 1 second, because I have been forgetting to say that. And that is such a good reminder to say that during the first 90 days.
Yeah, because to me, I'm actually kind of highly responsible. So I feel like I used to feel like if I'd hired them, I'm stuck with them. Right. I mean, but I really learned, okay, that 90-day period is your period for whatever. And I always say, look, I always make it about them. Like, you know what? This has got to be a great fit for you. And if it's a great fit for you, lots of things will happen. One, you'll love the work you're doing. Two, the work you're doing will be great quality, because you are good at it's your unique ability. It's what you do. So I try to make it about the role and not the person. I mean, if it's not working out. And I think Gary always gives great advice on if you hold them accountable, most people just quit. I would always prefer someone to quit than to me to fire them. So that would be my first choice, is how can I hold some accountability around it, so that maybe they just self-discover themselves. And then I think the reason I keep really good friends with people after it doesn't work out is because I really I look at it as I'm not doing them. Well, I remember Bailey asked me one time, she said, Mom, how in the world do you fire people? Because she's a high I, wants everybody to love her. Yeah. And I said, well, Bailey, if somebody's not doing well in a job, why do you think that is? And she said, I don't know. And she said, probably they're not the right behavior. And I said, right. So if they're not doing well in a job and they don't fit behaviorally, do you think they're happy or not happy? She goes, well, they're probably not happy. I said, so really, am I doing something to them or for them? So if you can kind of put your head around the mindset of doing something for someone, or, then I think that helps a lot is one thing I would say.
Yeah, I think that's really, really great. And you said something earlier that made me think too about the emotional versus the logic. I have 2 coaching clients right now, both operators, who both had to either let go of their team leader, or their team leader has self-discovered out kind of type, both kind of wanted it type thing. And interestingly enough, it's hard because we've been talking through it. They go straight to emotion. And actually this morning I had a conversation, and I said to one of them, I said, this person just needs Linda to have a real good talk about where's your DNA in this with them. I said, because Linda always is really great at asking that question. But I do think if we go back to the emotional thing, firing somebody is definitely an emotional thing, whether you're a D, an I, a whatever. Nobody likes to fire somebody.
Nobody.
I mean, it's the most dreaded thing. It's the worst thing to do ever. However, when you just said switch your mindset, I never knew how to do that before, and you've taught me that over the years. But now you can part ways with somebody, and you can do it the right way, and you can follow certain models, and you can end up still being friends or doing something else together, or whatever that looks like. Just because you're firing them doesn't necessarily mean it's the loss of a relationship. And this is where I was hoping maybe we could talk a little bit about Fierce, because that has helped me. I mean, life-changing when letting people go. Life-changing is following the models through Fierce. And I just think
we don't like to call it firing them. We like to call it making them available to the other industries.
Yes, that's a great way. And also, I was just thinking, I've had such great making them available to other industry conversations. And then I don't know if you remember this story, but like 7 or 8 years ago, when we let one person go and she picked up the binder that was like a foot thick and threw it across the room and like dodged my head and slammed into the wall. So I've had like the horrible ones and the ones where you're still friends afterwards. And the ones where you're still friends afterwards are so much better. So if we were going to walk through like a couple of tactical things for them during the process of letting go, other than using some of the models in Fierce, which we could talk about, does anything come to your mind on that?
Well, I have a question for you first. Looking back on that situation, because I think hindsight always, we can always look back on situations and learn so much, but we very seldom ever do that. What would you say would be the top three things? Oh, well, let's just say anything. One, what did you learn about yourself? And then what did you learn about that person? Because sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
The one thing you can't control is how they respond.
Yeah.
However, your tactic makes a big difference in how they respond, right? I want to do it respectfully. I want them to leave with as much, of their, their pride intact and their, confidence intact as we possibly can. So that's where I say, if you kind of take on the consulting role, you could, you could even, I would say, and we'll go to fierce in a minute, but I would even say, like, use unique ability worksheets with them. Like, ask them before you start deciding this, because I think you start getting clues a little bit early on. Ask them to write down what they love about the job description. This used to be a technique that we used for, like, with team leaders or somebody who wasn't succeeding in a role. You take and have them list every single thing they do in the job, and then list the pieces that they think that they love doing. And and then just kind of what the aha you hope they have is, I don't really love much of this job.
Yeah.
Right. So you could try some consulting type tactics like that too. The one thing about fierce, I don't think it really actually it gives you a way to change their behavior.
Yeah.
And I certainly would have used that before we got to this. So you want to talk about that conversation, that change the behavior, confront conversation before?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, the confrontation model is probably the best one that you would be having before you would actually be letting them go. However, I have used that to a workup of, hey, like, this just isn't working too. Like, I've used it once before, and then I've used it actually in the firing too, only switching the end. Instead of saying, like, now tell me your side, which is what happens at the end, I just kind of say, and unfortunately, I just think the best thing is for us to go a different direction. I mean, but I give them examples. So to go back to your question about the girl who threw the binder at my head, that was, when I reflect on that, actually, I had a leader at that time tell me I needed to have the MCA in the office do the firing, but I needed to be present because I needed to empower her. Well, she didn't have the relationship with the person really as much, number one. So that was mistake number one. And number two, I don't think that we gave her really specific examples because, again, I had a leader tell me, just go in and say, we've decided to go a different direction. Right. Today's going to be your last day. We're just going to stay in here while you pack up your stuff, and then we'll walk you out. Yeah. And in hindsight, maybe sometimes that may need to be the case, but like 99% of the time, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And so when she heard pack up your stuff, she just, whoosh, so I think, so when I look back on that, I think number one, I should have asked more people because I really hadn't fired a lot of people at that point. I'd have probably only ever hired like one person. So I think I should have asked multiple leaders instead of really just listening to like what that one person said, because it wasn't the best for the situation. Like she didn't ask any questions. She just said, this is how you should do it. And really it backfired tremendously.
Yeah. I think if you followed like technical protocol, that's the kind of stuff you do. But if you follow your heart protocol, it would never. I was
just getting ready to say that. Yeah.
I remember my company I left, gosh, ever how many, 30 years ago when I joined KW, literally I had taught for them. Every time I went to a seminar, I came back and taught it in the office trying to help other people. They treated me like that. You have till 5 o'clock, give me your keys. I will never forget that. I hated everything about that. Right. Yeah. So I think I think that would be the technical thing people would probably tell you got to do, but I think you got to follow your heart. And people will disappoint you anyway, and they'll still get mad, and they still, I know when we're changing their behavior, their options are deny, defend, deflect. And I'm sure they've got, similar responses when you let them go. But I think if you really say, look, this can't be great for you either. If you kind of really got them involved and ask questions, about, why do you think this is happening, or we're not getting the results, or, you know, and you kind of come from that approach first. I really feel like most people, or again, accountability,
Yeah,
if you have, especially if they're in sales, I don't know what this role this person is that's
totally.
asking us about this, but if it's in a sales role, numbers don't lie.
Yeah,
So, and what's your standard for them? I'll go back to the question that Gary asked me when I was micromanaging the heck out of Brad, which I'm thankful he got me to stop doing that, because I would have ran off a great person, right?
yeah,
So that's why I always say, and when you ask about in fierce, I think that's where mineral rights would be a great thing for someone, or beach
yep,
ball conversation where you go in and say, okay, talk to me. Here's what I'm thinking about doing. Am I missing anything? Because I think what happens when you repeat it back to another person, if all you hear is drama and emotion, then maybe you're caught up in the emotion of it and
yep,
you don't really have good facts of what's not really working. Maybe it's just not working your way,
yeah,
or you're trying to micromanage it, or your expectations are too off the chart, and you're not measuring the things that really matter. So I think there's a lot of checks and balances you could do for yourself, because I think when we feel like we're giving a job to somebody that we think we can do better, that doesn't feel good to us, and it feels like we're doing from top down. Whereas if we feel like we're giving the job to someone who is way better than us, that feels more like a partnership and a collaboration with somebody.
totally. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. I want to go back to, if you're listening to this and you're like, I have no idea what the heck any of these models are that they're talking about. They're all from the book Fierce Conversations, and that's such a great book for anybody to read. There's one in there that we kind of mentioned, the confrontation model, and I just want to go back, and I had it in front of me, so I thought I would just spell that out really fast. So, and you can Google it and find it also, but if you're wondering what that is, this would be the one Linda was saying you would kind of do before the firing. You could also maybe use it for a hard conversation during the firing. You'd have to change it up a little bit, but you name the issue. I want to talk with you about the effect blank is having on blank. You select specific examples, and this is something, Linda, that you also taught me really well. And I think when I go back to the bad fire with the throwing of the binder too, I never gave her any examples. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know I mean, I think the examples is it's a really important piece, whether they, take responsibility for them or not. Without specific examples, people don't know. Um, so you give a couple of specific examples, and then you say, and you describe your emotions around the issue. I feel blank. And so you share that and then clarify why this is important, meaning what's at stake to gain or lose for you, for others, for team, for the organization. So one thing I just did in a firing on that one is I just said what's at stake is honestly the rest of the team is ready to, walk out the door, and that's we can't have that happen. Or,
Yeah.
What's at stake is whatever, the stakes are high. And then this is the part number 5 that you said that I just think is the key. You recognize your fingerprints. I recognize my fingerprints. I have blank, your contributions for the problem, and for this I apologize. And then if you weren't firing, you indicate your wish to resolve the issue and you invite them to respond afterwards. But using even some pieces of that during a firing is really great, because it doesn't leave people,
Wondering.
yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too, as I think through this, I think one thing that's so helpful is if you can get so confident in, and this is hard because you're not sleeping the night before either. It's never easy or fun for the person having to make them available to other industries. But if you could let two things, silence do the heavy lifting,
Yeah.
and ask them deeper questions.
Yep.
Like let's say they started to cry. I might get them a Kleenex. I might say, take a minute and let's talk about this. What do you think the emotion is from?
Yeah.
And let them talk through what they're feeling, because, they may feel like they're failing, and I might be able to help them see that differently, that, none of us are ever going to be able to succeed in a role that doesn't really uniquely fit us. And so,
Yep.
I mean, I could really figure out how to turn it to a more consult kind of conversation with them.
Yeah.
And I think anybody would appreciate that,
Yeah. I totally
because
agree with that.
they feel now like a failure, or like, lesser
Yep.
than or whatever. So I think if we could learn to, number one, calm our nerves a little, pay attention to what things might trigger us. Definitely throwing a binder would trigger me, but how can I stay calm? And because just like Fierce says, when you can do that with somebody, you can enrich the relationship. So I think when you turn it to more like, I want to consult you into something that you would love doing and that you shine at, and you've got such great qualities and you're so good at, so many things, then I think you could create a raving fan, and you could, have somebody, you could really enrich that relationship. But I think it's going to take you really listening, letting them talk their part, and maybe you do have some DNA in there that they're going to remind you that you have, that you didn't even point out. So I think just being able to let silence do the heavy lifting, and ask great questions.
Yeah.
Tell me what what do you think is the reason this role might not be fitting for you, or you might not be able to get that done. I mean, I might give them a chance to at least self-discover themselves, and at least coach them and consult them, so that wherever they go next, they don't wind up in the same situation.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
But I think, or I might find them another job. I've done that before.
I've done that before too. Yeah.
If I can, especially if it's a small town and everybody, and a role that they might be better at, then I might say, hey, I know someone over there. I'd love to pull some strings and help you get that job.
Yeah.
If that's something you're interested in.
Well, and that's a great point too, Linda, because if they might not be, also maybe they might not be in the right seat on
your bus.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't find another if they're talent. And of course, if it's not like something, they stole or something like that while you're firing them, but if it's just not the right fit or whatever, I mean, you would definitely, I always look for other options of something to do with them. But I also was just thinking of one other thing too. Now I'm thinking of all these examples.
Funny you should say that, because one of the people that we had to let go actually stole from us. And my sister just came here the other day, and she said, he sings y'all's praises because he feels like y'all gave him a chance to turn his life around.
Wow.
And I think, even that situation, you know what I mean? If you can try to lead with your heart and just, again, salvage a relationship, because he tells my nephew that, he tells my sister that, he tells anybody he'll listen that we really, how much he respects us and appreciates us. And that was a bad situation, but he had paid us all back and eventually turned out really good. But if we had just taken the horrible stance on it and not let it go somewhere else good, or have a chance to be repaired or whatever, then I think that could have turned out very differently. And I don't know. I don't want to walk around in the world and count on my hands how many people can't stand me, because, even if they did something bad, how I handle it is going to determine how they treat me later.
That's a great point. And that makes me think, just don't think about that day or even the next 30 days after the firing or the letting them go or whatever we called it earlier. Maybe go into it thinking about, if 3 years from now I saw that person at Publix, how do I want the interaction to be? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or they could go on to work in another industry where you're a part of, or, you never know. And I think if you go into it also thinking about how you would want that relationship to feel if you saw them later, that can also help you take emotion out of stuff too.
Yeah. But I do like the idea. I always would say, try to find them a place inside your organization that's a better fit. And second of all, then try to find them a place outside the organization that's a better fit. But I think coming more as a consultant, and, keeping that relationship to where I'm more in curiosity of why it's not working, making sure it's not me, why it's not working, and what part of either their role, their behavior, or their skill is keeping it from working. And then I might, even if it's just skill, I might see if I love their attitude, but the skill's the problem, I might see if I could get them the skill training. But if it's attitude and I can't get them to change, that's where I would use the change the behavior if it's attitude. Yeah. So there's a couple things I think you could do beforehand. And I think you're going to grow as the leader in every single one of them you try. And so why not try, right? What have you got right now? Right now you're facing, I got to let them go.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Okay. 2 last quick things. Number one, if someone is firing someone and it doesn't go great, what would your advice be just after the fact? I mean, after the conversation is over and they just don't take it well and it's just not, it just doesn't turn out good.
Yeah. Well, I would do my best to, well, one, if I don't think that person, I mean, if this is just the way this person is going to respond, I just let it go, because I think people in the world, if that person goes out and tells the world all the bad things about me, but that person is someone who people can see those qualities of just
Yep.
not good qualities in, I think I'm going to have to let that speak for itself. Um, and just move on. I mean, my dreams and my goals in life have to be way bigger than one person that I have to let go, and they don't work, they don't respond well. I might try, I would definitely try really hard to say, okay, I understand you're upset. Can we talk about this? Or something like that. I still care about you. I'd still love to
Yep.
help you. This isn't an attack on you. This is truly about a fit in a role. I might
Yep.
try to diffuse them and talk them down, but if I can't and they're just going to have a crappy attitude,
Yeah.
I'm going to just have to let them go have it and hope that the rest of the world sees that attitude in them.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. That's exactly what I was going to say too. Because even this morning I had a conversation and I said, I just want to remind you that people know how they are and people know how you are, and you just got to let it go. Like
Yeah.
that, just let it go and be over it. And I love that you said the quote that I actually wrote down that I was going to say we should end with. And was it, I don't know who that came from, you or Gary or John or somebody, about your dreams and your goals have to be bigger than just one person. And if they're
Yeah.
wrapped up in that one person, like you got to go back and reevaluate yourself.
Yeah. I just, one day I was coaching somebody and they were just so upset about somebody. And I said, look, your dreams and your goals have to be way bigger than one person who leaves your team. And
Yeah.
I've just stuck with it because I thought, that's so true. If we're basing it on one person or one idea that doesn't work out, we're going to be very disappointed.
Yep.
Right.
Totally. Yeah. Yep. Totally. Okay. And if someone hates having these types of conversations and they have to fire somebody, I would say they definitely need to get into a fierce class as soon as possible,
Yes.
just
Yes.
because it will help you with the way that you have these conversations. I've hated it. And now I actually look forward to them because I know the relief I'm going to have, the relief that person's going to have, how we can have a better relationship when it's over. I mean, so many positive things.
Yeah. I would say yes, definitely attend the fierce class. But the second thing I would do also is I would ask yourself, what is that telling me about myself?
Yeah.
That I absolutely, I mean, nobody likes it. You said it before. I mean, you don't like it. I don't like it. If I had one tomorrow, I'd be sick tonight. I mean, would not be fun. However, I got to say, okay, but if I'm unwilling to do it,
Yeah.
what am I really afraid of? And I think I would have to change my thinking about that I'm doing something to someone instead of for someone. If someone's not succeeding in a job, they can't truly be happy. Now they might be scared and they might be, of the security, and I might help them through that and say, look, you can stay here until we get you another job. I know if you're worried about that, if you're worried about the income not coming into your family, I'm not just going to let you go tonight. Right. I can give you some time, or something like that. But I think I would try to just understand, what is it that I'm afraid of, because they can't kill me.
Yeah.
No one's going to die, at least, hopefully not die. If they hit you with the binder, they might. But I would just try to really say, look, this is a skill that I've got to change my thinking. I'm thinking I'm doing something to someone, and I got to figure out how to learn that I'm actually doing something for someone. And ask yourself, have you ever been let go? And was it something that was in the end probably better for you?
Yeah.
Or did you hate that person forever?
Yeah. Yeah. Our church on Sunday was really good. But one of the things he talked about was blessed subtractions. Like we see change and we just automatically think the negative, and really a removal from your life for something could be usually is like such a blessing in the long run. You just can't
And see,
see.
that would be a great thing to have in your repertoire to say to them.
Yeah.
If you see them upset, you'd say, well, let me share with you. So
Yep.
many times in our life, the greatest opportunities come to us because something is released from us. Not everybody just hanging on to something that's not working long term. And so that, again, I think fierce would give you so much around the language to be careful not to say, because you don't want to walk into a meeting like that and say, so how's it going? Because they're going to say, oh, it's great.
Yeah.
And now you're kind of in a mess. So I think Fierce would be fabulous. And I'd probably go to it every year. I don't think I'd just go to it once because it's just too much. And I'd read the book, and I would really reflect on how to change my mindset that I'm doing something for someone instead of to someone if they're not working out in a job.
Yep.
And I might even have them read Unique Ability. I might give them some education on really spending time to search for what you love and what you're uniquely wired for, because we're all uniquely wired for something.
Yeah. Yep. Love it.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, hopefully this was helpful to those who've asked about firing. We hate that you're having to do it. However, it is kind of part of business and being a leader.
Yeah. Honestly, firing or someone quitting, neither one are fun, but they're all part of it. Welcome to leadership.
Yep. Totally.
Awesome. All right. Remember, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and hit that button below. And the greatest compliment you can give Dana and I is to give us a 5-star review and pass this podcast along to anyone that you think would benefit from our conversations. And Dana, I think you and I will talk again next week.
Yep. Sounds good. Talk to you then.
All right. See you then.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.